Namo Buddhaya, Namo Amitabha. Hello everyone. So today I feel like talking about how to deal with pride. So we all heard about the three poisons: greed, anger, and ignorance. But in Mahayana Buddhism, we often talk about the 5 poisons, the 5 mental defilements, with the additional 2 being pride and doubt. And in Mahayana Sutras, they even talk about the 7 different types of pride. But we won't go into the details of the category. But today, let's look at how we can deal with pride. So pride or arrogance stand for the inflated mind or the puffed up mind that think one is better or superior than others. And this stands for our ego. Our ego self is actually an illusion, right? Because if you actually want to pinpoint a permanent, fixed individual or separate self, you cannot actually find it, right? Who is this I? I'm not this body. The body is changing all the time. I'm not my thoughts. My thoughts are also changing all the time. I'm also not all of the external identities I associate with, because all these identities can also change all the time. So we cannot actually find a permanent fixed individual self. And that's why this ego is an illusion. And everything that stands for this ego self, such as the thoughts of pride and arrogance, is also an illusion. And this kind of thoughts will serve a basis for disrespecting others. One can be really rude or implied if one is really arrogant, and also it will lead to suffering. And also if one thinks one is better than others, one may not want to improve. And this is definitely not good for our personal growth and spiritual growth. So how we can deal with pride? Since we are ordinary unenlightened beings, most likely we're gonna still sort of attached to our ego, and occasionally thoughts of pride may come up, especially if you're someone who is very smart or intelligent, or who has a lot of wealth or social status, etc. It's easy to give rise to the thoughts of pride. So whenever you are aware that you have the thoughts of pride, you can recite the name of Amitabha Buddha to practice Nianfo to help you reduce or remove the thoughts of pride. And when we recite the name of Amitabha Buddha, it also helps us to see the Buddha nature within all beings. So from the aspect of the Buddha nature, we are actually the same. We all share the same Buddha nature. We're not better or superior than anybody, but we're also not less than anybody. So through practicing Nianfo, it can remind us to see the Buddha nature in all beings and keep our pride and arrogance away. Keep our ego on check. And also it's important to keep a humble attitude. Even if you have a lot of achievements, even if you have won a lot of Olympic medals, for instance, right? Do not boost your achievements and try to separate the ego self with your achievements. Even if you have really achieved a lot, you are really such a successful person in the society, but do not think it that way. I do not think that you have achieved anything, even if you have achieved something. I do not think you are so good at anything, even if you are good at something. So always keep our thoughts humble and a beginner's attitude. This will help us to improve and grow even more. And also no one likes someone who is really arrogant. So we really don't want to be too proud and arrogant. And also for spiritual practitioners, it's important to keep the spiritual ego on check. Spiritual ego is also a problem. So do not think that you have attained anything. Even if you have attained anything, do not think so. If someone claims that they are enlightened, they have realized enlightenment, they really don't have any idea of what enlightenment actually means. So a basic level of enlightenment means that one has no ego at all, the dissolution of the ego, no attachment to the self. If one still thinks one is enlightened, that's a serious attachment to the self and to the concept of enlightenment. So if you have no ego, then who is the self, the I, thinks who attains enlightenment? So this we must understand. So whoever that claims that they are enlightened, you need to really quickly run the other way. I do not believe them. And the Buddha already said it really clearly in the Diamond Sutra. A stream enterer, the basic level of enlightenment, one who has no attachment to the self. So a stream enterer would not think he is a stream enterer. An arahant will not think he's an arahant. A bodhisattva will not think he's a bodhisattva, and so a Buddha will not think he's a Buddha. If a stream enterer thinks he's a stream enterer, then he still has the notion of the self, notion of the sentient beings, and notion of the others. With this attachment and separation, one is not enlightened. So this is really clearly stated in the Buddha Sutras, and it's really actually very logical. It really makes sense. So if someone claims that they are enlightened or whatever, I quickly run the other way. And also do not be attached to any experiences one may have when one is in meditation. Sometimes people may be excited. They think that they experienced something or they've seen something during their meditation. And all this, in a way, also a veil of illusions, and one should not be attached. Now, even if one sees the Buddha, so sometimes when we nianfo, it is possible that you resonate with Amitabha Buddha so much, and you may see Amitabha Buddha. So this is a sign from the Buddha to let us know this is definitely the right path to help us deepen our faith. But this is not something that one should boast about. And even if one sees the Buddha, one should not think that one has a great cultivation. Maybe one's practice is so much better than other people. I do not think like that. Even if you have good practice, good cultivation, do not think you have good practice and good cultivation. So always keep this humble attitude, the beginner's attitude. I do not boast of your achievement or whatsoever. With that, you will actually improve more. And one may share the experience of seeing Amitabha Buddhas to others, not to boost one's practice, but maybe to help people to gain faith in Amitabha Buddha. And also, I remember seeing somewhere someone say, how can bodhisattvas keep this egoistic thought that they are helping to save sentient beings? Wouldn't that be so egoistic? So the Buddha said that too in the Diamond Sutra. A bodhisattva, a true bodhisattva, would not think he is helping sentient beings, even if he is helping sentient beings. A true bodhisattva does not have the notion of the self and the notion of the sentient beings. So one simply perform the actions without abiding in anything. That is the attitude of a bodhisattva. We may see the bodhisattvas great vows, how they're gonna save all sentient beings, etc. But the language of the I and all these words are simply used as a way of convenience. They don't actually attach to it, and they don't actually think so. They're simply performing the actions without abiding in anything. And also, I don't think that I'm here sharing the Dharma, even if I'm sharing. So I'm always a student on the path. I'm definitely not a teacher, because the Dharma is so vast, so deep, and so profound. It's not possible for one to study it all unless one actually go to the Pure Land after this lifetime. So I'm also a beginner on the path, and I'm here to learn with all of you. So if we want to keep our ego, our pride on check, I always keep the humble attitude, the beginner's attitude, and always try to see the good in others, to appreciate the good in others, and to learn from others. And one can improve a lot and go a much longer way on both your personal development and your spiritual journey. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Amitabhaya.